Hey guys, and today I'll be playing a slasher dating simulator, which is basically, dating simulator with classic characters from slasher and like horror films. And this is a demo as of right now, but in the full game, they will include Jason, Michael Myers, Leatherface, Pinhead, Freddy Krueger, and Harry Warden. I have no idea who Harry Warden is though. So let's get on to playing. And look at the mouse. It's like a little knife. I think that's adorable. Okay. Let's choose R6. Let's go with this. Okay, so Jason is only available. So here we have Pinhead, Leatherface. I have no idea who this. Someone explain to me who the second one is. I don't know where that. What movie that one's from. The afternoon sun was high, and despite the canopy of green overhead, it still beat down on me with that familiar summer heat. It would be enjoyable were I not dragging every bit of luggage to my name by hand on an ill-kept dirt road. Immediately, it was still gorgeous out, and I felt reassured as I reminded myself what lay at the end of this god-forsaken trail. I had landed a position as a counselor in training at Camp Crystal Lake, doing most of their dirty work, cleaning after kids, washing dishes, etc. It'll be fun, I tell myself. It was a chance to get out, see some nature. I had spoken briefly with one of the owners of the camp when I came about the position, an older woman who said she owned the place and ran it with her son. I wonder how much of this land they actually own, seeing just how expansive it was now. I was in the dead center of it all. I find it hard to believe they could afford the upkeep of such a large piece of land on summer camp profits alone, especially one this far down a dirt road. Wait, where is the road? Shit, where am I? Well, there's a little too much nature. Before I realized it, I made a couple of wrong steps off the beaten path straight into unfamiliar territory. That's really dumb. I think it's so vast I could barely see the light of day. I try to turn around and retrace my steps back to the path, but it's as if they vanished, blending in with the rest of this unnavigable forest. I'm pretty sure I still remember the direction I'm supposed to be headed, so I started walking again, now trudging through the thick kudzu with my heavy bags in tow. The more I walked, the woods just seemed to get deeper and deeper. It was almost eerie how quiet it was here. Being immersed in nature is one thing, but it felt like I was only living, breathing thing for miles. After a few minutes of trudging along, my ear caught a sound, a thumping noise somewhere off in the distance. It was almost rhythmic, like chopping. I picked up the pace, high-stepping it towards the direction I thought I heard the sound coming from. I followed the sound as it got louder and louder. Just in the distance, I could make out a figure. I could just barely see them past the trees, but it was distinctly a person. I maneuvered past some downed logs and tree stumps to try and get close enough to see them, and for them to see me. They seemed to have their back turned. Hello? The man perked up and turning to face me. I stood like a deer in the headlights, taken aback by his appearance. He was massive, a lumbering form draped in heavy clothing that felt unnatural for this kind of heat. He donned an instantly tattered mask on his face and stared unnervingly through me with his unseen eyes. He turned his body completely to look at me, looming over me like a shadow. That was when I saw it, the axe in his hand. There was a beat of silence, then he moved towards me. In a panic, I dropped my bags and made a break for it. I ran blind deeper into the woods, putting as much distance between myself and that thing as I possibly could. Why would you go towards it then? Just as I began to feel safe, a thick root jutting out of the ground caught my foot and launched me into the dirt. The wind was completely knocked out of me, and I heaved as I attempted to sit up quicker than my body would allow. Before I could pick myself back up, there he was, somehow right behind me, looming over me like a bear. His chest rises and falls with slow, deep breaths as he silently stares at me. My body feels like ice. I'm not even breathing anymore. The air is caught in my throat. I'm sure I'm going to die. The figure lurched forward, and I instinctively brought my hands up to shield myself from what was to come. But nothing came. Anxiously, I opened my eyes to find that the man is now crouched down, offering me a hand. He isn't chopping me up with an axe or stringing me up by the neck. He's just trying to help me. I wish that Michael Myers was available. I take his hand cautiously, and before I can protest, he places another strong hand around my arm to support me as I stand. He must have seen how badly I ate it, and I assume my leg might not feel great after such a wipeout. He brushes off my shoulders too, dusting off the dirt that coated my arms. Nothing felt broken, but I was definitely bruised from that fall. He brings his hands to his chest, beginning to sign. Sorry, I didn't mean to scare you. You dropped your bags. I see now that he had my backpack slung over his shoulder and my suitcase sitting at his feet. He had time to follow me and grab my heavy-ass bags? Jesus. Are you looking for campgrounds? I realized he was talking to me in ASL, so I began to sign back to him. Yes, actually. Do you know where they are? He nodded, picking up my suitcase and motioning for me to follow him. Silence followed between the man and I as I found myself staring at his back. His strides were long and well experienced with the terrain, while I still felt myself catch on uneven ground. I hurried my pace to match his, the quiet of the forest creeping back up my spine as my bruises began to ache dully. So, I paused, hoping to break the awkward feeling building up within my chest. Do people often get lost, or am I a special case? The man's head tilted in my direction, his eyes catching mine through the hollowed holes of his old, worn hockey mask as he shook his head no, when he caught sight of my offered hand willing to take my bags. It happens. Luckily, he ran into me. Not so luckily, I also ran into the ground. I smiled, ignoring the discomfort of my embarrassment as I pushed the conversation forward. It could be easy to lose yourself here. Intentionally, I mean. A low chuckle of response sounds from my woodsy savior, and I can't help but to brighten as a smile tugs at my cheeks. It's a sound I just can't help but to beam at. Sorry again for scaring you. Don't worry about it, it's not really your fault. I mean, he is a giant mass axe-wielding man alone in the middle of the woods. He's not exactly the most approachable figure. It was mostly the axe. What are you doing out here anyway? Chopping wood for our campus carburetor, for making fire as well. Well, that makes sense. See a man out in the woods with an axe? Think firewood, not a maniac. Well, his getup is alarming. After a few minutes of correcting my poor navigation, we finally made it to the campgrounds. It's a bit surreal how different it is from the deep woods. The campgrounds are so full of life, kids playing and running around. From the center of the grounds, you can really get a good look of the lake. It really is beautiful out here. In this light, I can get a much better look at the man. He's still massive. Lighting didn't really change that, but he definitely doesn't look as menacing now. He sets my bag down and turns to look at me. Just because it doesn't look menacing doesn't mean he still isn't intimidating. Are you one of the new counselors? Yes, I am. Your cabin is back there. Feel free to get settled. You can start your training first thing tomorrow. Did he say training? Do you work here? He nodded. My name is Jason Voorhees? Oh, what an odd line of work for someone of his demeanor. Wait, is this the son Mrs. Voorhees mentioned on the phone? I felt an immediate hot wash of embarrassment. It's not a great first impression to run in fear from your new employer. He's the owner of the camp. My name is... I just came up with a different name. My name is Amy. Let's go, Amy. Well, it's nice to meet you. I'm Amy. It's nice to meet you too, Amy. I can always hear the warmth in his side words, how genuinely happy he is to make conversation. It softens those edges a bit. The noise catches Jason's attention, pulling him away from the conversation. I have to get going. If you need anything, I'll be around. See you in the morning, Amy. With that, he was gone, wandering off somewhere across the campsite. I picked up my bags and headed towards my cabin, relieved that I was minutes away from a well-deserved nap. I trudged down the path, watching the cabin emerge from the covers of the tree. Counselors were hanging out around the cabin's porch, talking amongst themselves and getting their assignments. Yo! A voice called out to me. Yeah, you! Come over here. I need to get you signed in. I turned to see a couple of counselors, a guy who looked a bit older than me, and a girl who was probably around the same age as me. Sorry, I didn't realize. My name's Amy. Yeah, name's Kevin. I'm in charge around here. So you can come to me if you have any issues, got it? Okay. Kevin looks up and down his list before giving me a passive, unimpressed glance. Yep, you're on here alright. Show Amy around the cabin, would ya? The girl perked up and nodded. Sure, follow me, Amy. I'll show you to your room. I gave Kevin a thank you nod, but he was already on to talking to the next counselor on the list. I followed Fern inside and was immediately welcomed by the cozy air of the traditional wood cabin. It looks very homely. Fern led me to my room and gestured for me to head inside. Alrighty, make yourself at home, and I'll be by to get you later for dinner. See you in a bit. We exchanged a wave as Fern hurried back out to greet the other incoming counselors. I set my luggage down and made a beeline for the bed. Unpacking can wait. Sitting on the edge of the bed, I kicked off my shoes, only now realizing just how sore my feet were from the walk here. Why were you walking all the way to the camp, though? That's what I want to know. I fell back on the bed, climbing under the neatly made quilt. It wasn't long after my head hit the pillow that I was drifting off. The morning sun bathes Camp Crystal Lake in a pastel wash. I go about making coffee and some toast before what is sure to be a busy day. All the walking from yesterday had caught up with me. It was as if my legs were screaming at me to go back to bed. I have to get used to this if I'm going to be doing stuff like this for the rest of the summer. Helping the other counselors set up in preparation for the campers today, my toast pops up from the toaster and I drag my feet to the kitchen table. I bite into my toast and sip my coffee, still feeling the early morning drunkenness. As I'm on my last bite of toast, there comes a knock on the screen door. Wait, you have your own little kitchen in the cabin? I scamper down and pad down the hallway, seeing a large silhouette at the door. I open it up to see Jason standing there, possibly tall and muscular. His clothes are tight against his huge frame, and I can practically feel the power that radiates from him as his broad chest lightly follows his breath. Seeing Jason almost instantly puts a smile to my face. My screaming legs finally shut up from being blessed by his mere presence. Hey Jason, what brings you here? Good morning, Amy. I know you're going to join the other counselors in setting up today, but I could really use your help if that's okay with you. The campers are going to arrive soon, so this place needs to be in working order. Think you're up for it? If you want, that is. I can tell Jason is a little shy. It's strange seeing such a huge and impressive band act like this, but honestly, I think it's adorable. I can't help but feel a wide grin grow on my face. Of course, that sounds great. Come on in, I'm just finishing up my morning routine. Jason follows me inside, ducking a bit to get under the door frame. I'm going to change. I'll be right back. Just wait here. Jason nods and does as he's told. My heart pounds with excitement in my ears as I head upstairs to change out my PJs and into my day clothes. How big are these cabins? He wants me to go with him. After I brush my teeth, splash my face with water, and take one last look in the mirror, I head downstairs back to him. Ready, Amy? I smiled and gave him a nod, patting my hand on his broad shoulder. We head out the door together and walk side by side to the activities area. Our first job is to haul the kayaks to their proper racks. I watched in disbelief as Jason sauters by with two of them in tow. I'm struggling with one. Cheater. I watch Jason's shoulders shake in laughter. He helps to drag the kayak I'm battling and lifts it into its appropriate slot. He's so incredible. He's barely even breaking a sweat. It's back-breaking work, but we're able to get it done in record time thanks to Jason's raw strength. Next, we set up the archery range. Jason and I prepare the lanes, set out the targets, and count out the supplies. I bundle them together, 3 arrows and 1 finger tap for each camper. Jason restrains each bow and tests them to make sure they're taut and firm. With this station, all that matters is safety. Make sure the kids, and the counselors for that matter, only point their bow downrange when it is their turn to fire. You wouldn't believe how many people almost put out someone else's eye because their mind isn't on safety. I can imagine, right? No accidents on my watch. I make sure each and every lane is clear of debris, and in no time we're finished up the archery range. Next, we go to the wood cutting area. I'm watching awe as Jason yanks a huge axe out of the stump and, in one deft motion, hefts it back over his shoulder before bringing it down on the block of wood resting on the stump. He's seducing you by chopping some wood. The wood block snaps in two. I stare as he repeats the process a few times before returning to me, chest heaving and sweat glistening on his skin. My face heats up at the holy sight. He pulls out a knife from his back pocket and begins chipping away at one of the split logs. He doesn't even need to look at what he's doing. Want to give it a try? Me? Jason chuckles, and the sound is an absolute delight. Man, you're just smitten over this man. God, Jason is just so... Stop it, Amy. Focus. Yes, you. Here, I have an extra carving knife. Alright, here goes nothing. What should I make? Oh. What should I make? Mask, bear. Let's make a... Mask. Let's make a bear. I attempt to carve a bear. Oh. Is that a bear? Yeah, I couldn't think of anything else, so I made something that you reminded me of. Huh? I remind you of a bear? Jason tilted his head at me. Oh, I might have said too much. Maybe I can save myself from explaining what a human bear is. For instance, you're very big, strong, and fearless like a bear. I see. I get it now. Do you think I could keep it? If you don't want it, of course. I'm gonna give it to him. Oh, really? I don't have anything I plan to do with it, so sure. Thank you so much, Amy. I'll put it in my desk when I get back to my cabin. Oh, of course, Jason. I'm glad you like it. Well, you must be ready for a break now. It's so hot out here. Let's go stock up on the freezers. That'll cool us down. I sincerely doubt that statement as I watched Jason lift his shirt to dab the sweat on his neck, exposing his muscular stomach. I followed Jason to the camp kitchen where we stocked the camp's freezers and pantries with food, enjoying the cool air surrounding us. Yoo-hoo, Jason, Amy, would you mind helping me prepare dinner? Of course, Mother. This is Mom. Absolutely. Happy to help, Mrs. Voorhees. Please, dear, call me Pamela. Jason and I help Pamela chop vegetables for salad and man the grill and oven, which are lined with barbecue meats and aluminum-wrapped potatoes, respectively. Hey, what kind of camp is this? That sounds like a luxury. My. Jason has you quite busy today. Oh yeah, but it's been great. I feel like I've learned a lot. You did great today. There shouldn't be much more to do here before the campers arrive. I love to hear it, my dears. You're taking the hard work off my hands. I'm so grateful. The dining hall fills with counselors, and Pamela lets us pick our food first. She stands on her tiptoes to whisper something in Jason's ear. He bends down to hear her. Their eyes flicker to me briefly, and I shift from one foot to the other. Jason waves to his mother as they part ways, and he rejoins me. Do you want to eat with me? I actually have a question for you. Sure, I'd love to. We pile our plates high with hot food, and Jason leads us over to the log by the fire to eat. We eat together, and I can barely contain my excitement at being able to spend so much time with him. Oh. So I've been thinking, I know you're supposed to take a camping trip with the other counselors, but I was wondering if you wanted to go with me and the kids? If not, I understand. It's last minute, after all. I screeched in delight in my mind, but I gave Jason a gentle smile. Jason, it made me really happy to go with you. Really? That's great. My mother agreed to take your place with the other counselors. This means a lot to me. I studied his mask face. His eyes lit up and bright in the firelight. I can hardly contain my own excitement. He must really like spending time with me. I'll come get you tomorrow morning, and we'll head out. That sounds great. Looking forward to it. We finish eating and throw our paper plates in the garbage. Our eyes meet, and I shuffle from one foot to the other. I'll walk you back to your cabin. Why is he acting? He's acting like this. The night air is sweet with honeysuckle as we trek back to our cabins. I love it here. You can see the stars so well. Where I'm from, you're never able to get this kind of visibility. Yeah, me too. It's really beautiful. I notice Jason shoved his hands into his coat pockets, and I swear I see the hint of flesh paint his neck in the silver of the moonlight. Well, here's my stop. Oh, yes. Well, thanks for helping me out. I enjoyed spending time with you today. Anytime. Yeah, I did too. I started up the stairs and turned to wave to Jason. See you in the morning, Jason. Good night, Amy. Don't let the big bugs bite. I smile and nod my head at him before closing the door and happily trotting to my bed. I stand next to the bed and fall backwards on top of it, letting out a sigh. I'm so lucky. I get to hang out with Jason again tomorrow. Thank you, Pamela, for covering for me. My eyes grow heavier to the point where I can barely keep them open. Jason and I did so much work today. I feel so exhausted. I searched for the covers with my legs and pulled them over myself. Before I knew it, I started to drift to sleep. It's now been a few days since I arrived at the camp, and they have been nothing short of tedious. Learning everything from preparing the finest, crustless peanut butter and jellies to being able to help perfect the ultimate tent pitching technique. It's something of a thankless job, I've come to realize, but there are parts of it I've grown quite fond of rewarding. Though my initial encounter with the large looming camp counselor was a shaky start, every moment since then has been one of genuine enjoyment. I find myself stealing glances and hidden coy smiles when I watch him working alongside me. Before, I might have died of embarrassment any time his chest touched my back, trying to adjust my hold on tools or equipment, or hid from sight when he had to put out a stove fire because I wasn't paying complete attention to the food. Of course, now that I've had plenty of time to allow him to be my teacher and show me the ropes, being a quick learner has only come to benefit me, and let me get a little closer to my new head counselor. There's something about him that gives me butterflies in the pit of my stomach, making my skin warm and my thoughts muddled. I mean, of course, these things happen. Crushes like these happen all the time when people spend every minute of the day together, but I don't know why, but something feels different. Should I be feeling this way? Now that dinner's prepared, I should do something a little more productive than all this daydreaming. Maybe a shower will help? I don't want to smell like oil and chicken parm when I see Mr. Voorhees later. Not if I don't have to, anyway. My boots crunch against the gravel as I step out of the mess hall and take in the crisp summer breeze. The sky paints itself hues of pink, orange, and purple. My mind steadily returns to my thoughts. I was caught off guard when he personally asked me, of all the counselors, to help him with tonight's bonfire, though admittedly I felt a swell of pride. It meant a lot that he felt he could trust me with setting things up and taking care of the kids, and even more so considering I'm the newest of the crew. I imagine it might have had something to do with my ability to mesh with the kids, but I don't care. Whatever the reason, I'm not going to let him down. I find my way back to the counselor's cabin, gathering a change of clothes and a robe in one arm. I press my back to the wooden stall out back and wait for the others to finish. The sound of giggling can only mean one thing, and I can't help but roll my eyes. Eventually, the duo in question will step out, sharing a knowing look with me before it was finally my time. I enjoyed the heat and steam and scrubbed off the smells of firewood and cooked bacon from my body. Oh. I tied my robe back on, letting out a satisfied sigh, and began to head back inside. I find my pants and throw on my favorite sweater. I part of the big sign with a long sigh before heading out, only making a few steps down the stairs before slamming straight into something solid. Ugh, what the hell? I look up, rubbing my nose, and then I feel my face turn bright red. Of course, I run right into Jason. That's what I get for not paying attention. I shrink a bit and roll my lips into a thin line. Mr. Voorhees, I'm sorry, I didn't see you there. I could tell. You're lucky you didn't trip. You could have sprained something. I found myself mentally sighing. Now he was scolding me. I didn't need him to speak to know what kind of tone he was adopting. I gave a sheepish smile and signed back to him. Don't wish ill on me now. I have dinner all set up. I know you needed some help. I was surprised you didn't ask Bernard or Kevin for any help. They're better at the tents than me. Jason's stays linger on me for a while. He shifts silently in thought before returning his focus back. Fred is busy setting up kayaks on the boat rack tonight. As for Kevin, his hands still and the blue eyes shift to the ground. This is a familiar face, and he makes it a lot when Kevin is concerned. Oh, it is Kevin, so you need to see me. So you need to see me. It's hard to stop the smile from forming at the corner of my lips, rubbing the side of my neck sheepishly. I'm grateful he's so preoccupied gathering all the sports equipment. It would have been an instant death had he seen my flushed cheeks. My hand found my face, rubbing at the heat I felt, before joining him as I walked towards the campsite area. On my way, Jason is quick to sort the equipment on his designated rack, wiping the dust off in his hand's completion. So lead the way. Is there anything in particular you want me to start with first? With ease, Jason collected all the tent equipment with one arm, bicep flexing with impressive strength as he hoisted it to his shoulders. He notices my eyes lingering a second too long, but he doesn't bring attention to it. He hands me the box of snacks, all the trappings of the s'mores and Vienna sausages, and cants his head to the side in a motion to follow after him. It's your choice, but these are the larger tents since it's easier to keep the kids in groups. They've been complaining about noises. The easier I can see them, the better. If you want, feel free to start the bonfire now that it's sundown. Either that or get the torches placed for the trail. After that, I can help with the tents if need be, and we can get food handled after that. I nodded, huffing as I struggled to keep up with his long strides, especially with 50 pounds of food sitting on my lap, on my hip. Once I arrived at the campsite, bare bones and ready to be set up, I know exactly where I like to start. Set up torch trails, set up the bonfire. Let's set up the torch trails first. I'll start setting up the trail torches then. I have a feeling the kids are going to want to spend all their time out tonight. The weather is really nice. Jason nods in agreement, spreading out the tent supplies neatly. He jerks his head in the direction of the plastic container bin close to the scattered seating around the bonfire. All of the material should be in the bin. There should be oil in there as well. If there isn't any, there's some in the kitchen storage area. With not much of a preamble, I get to work, heading over to the bin and piling the torches into my arm. They're a lot heavier than I remember, but it's like it has something to do with the picking up 8 of them in one sitting. Yeah. I feel myself slumber backwards a bit, and as I do so, I feel the weight of my body tilt over, sneakers catching over their shoelaces and gravel. An explosive gas lifts my lips before that familiar feeling of strength took over. Why do you keep falling and tripping? I felt Jason's powerful arm pull me onto his chest, and when I looked up, clutching the torches right tight to my chest, I saw the familiar sight of that hockey mask looking down at me, eyes full of concern. Maybe the torches might be too heavy. Do you want me to take over for you? You say you could take me right now. That's so cringy. We should stop beating like this. You know what? Let's just be direct. You can just take me right now. His eyes behind his mask pierced right through me when he glances down at me. Unknowingly, I grin at him nervously, waiting for him to respond, but he doesn't say anything. I notice Jason goes to move his hand, which I assume he's about to sign back to me. Instead, I hear a weapon unsheathed from behind him, and a sharp pain overcomes my body. Huh? And I feel a warm liquid oozing from my abdomen. He stabbed me. Jason slides a machete out of me, and my body goes limp on the ground. A pool of blood blazes the soil beneath me, and I can feel myself growing weak and tired. I can't believe he did this. To be fair, I asked for it. Dang, you died? He does not like people that are direct like that. Okay, lesson learned. Okay, we're just gonna say, yeah, we're just gonna be normal and say ask him for some help. I wouldn't mind waiting for some help, yeah? There's something of a low chuckle that muffles behind the hockey mask, and it makes my body feel hot all over. Are you really that hot and bothered? With ease, Jason set me back upright, adjusting the tiki torches in my arm properly before placing his hand at the small of my back in encouragement. I can't help but beam at him, and he can't help but soften his gaze when I do, a gentle exchange of silent acknowledgement. He turns his attention back to stomping the stakes in the ground, already partially done with the first tent, before turning to the side to sign me in. I don't mind, I'm almost done with the tents here. Give me a moment. I find myself waiting patiently, rocking back and forth on my heels as I watch Jason work on the tents with practiced speed and accuracy. It came from years of being here, I think to myself. It's his entire life, his entire world. I couldn't make the same bridge since I wasn't always an outdoors person. Once, there was even a time where the thought of sleeping on anything other than a mattress was a bad end for me. But now, besides him, this seemed idyllic. My feet tapped against one another, impatient, wanting to work alongside him, and when he finally finishes, I bounce up eagerly. We take up to the trails, and he extends a hand out to take some of the weight from my arms. Once he finds the familiar holes in the earth from prior torches, we each take a side and get to work? So you never told me, have you and your mother been here for a long time? We have. She's owned and taken care of Crystal Lake longer than I've been around. I imagine it'll always been like that. I find myself saddened by that thought. Sure, it makes sense if he grew into this life, and of course he pictured himself only doing that, but does that mean he never tried to make any personal time for himself? I felt my tongue weigh heavier. Have you ever thought of doing something else? Passion projects or trade work, maybe? I've seen some of your wood carvings. They're pretty amazing. There's a brief pause on his end that I noticed, and I felt myself tense up, clutching the tiki torch tighter. The counselor turns to look over his shoulder, contemplative, then plants another torch in the ground with ease. I breathe a sigh of relief, swallowing the lump in my throat. I watch him stand up again, rolling his shoulders, and he turns to me as I finish up my own torches. Most people don't know about that hobby. It's nice. Someone recognizing it. Thank you. Thank you? For what? For your time. It's nice to be able to talk to someone about something other than work. There's no way to describe the feeling again in my chest at that admission. My heart hammers away at my rib cage. I feel my palms get sweaty. He really felt that way? I can't help but give a crooked smile, nodding. Of course, I'm glad I could do that for you, Mr. Voorhees. Jason. Thanks, bro, a long time, shaking his head as he tries to process the way his full name sounds. This isn't something he understood. Why wouldn't call him by his first name? He looks back to me and steps much, much closer. I prefer being called Jason. I nod once more, perhaps a little bit more heartily than I realized, and plant the last of my torches in my hold. Jason it is then. I think we're done here, actually. Shall we head back? He nods and, without much of a preamble, steps in time with me as we begin to head back to the campsite. The fruit branches off to the woods have pulled his attention away from the idle conversation, pausing at the weight of them being snapped underfoot, forcing the head counselor to investigate, but to no avail. I felt something in my gut cool nervously, but at his assurance, my concerns melted away. Whatever could be roaming about was surely no threat to them, especially if Jason was with me. No, instead, I focused on the next task at hand. I looked at the empty fire pit and let out a tired groan, not exactly my favorite thing, only because of the level of manual labor involved, but it had to be done regardless. I stretched my arms above my head and planted my hands on my hips confidently. Well, even if no one likes to, setting up the bonfire isn't going to happen on its own. Really? Why don't people like to? Well, not everyone is as strong as you when it comes to hefting all that firewood. Even without seeing much of his face, I could read the confusion easily with the body language. There was a moment where he looked around, pausing in his work before canting his head to the side in understanding. So it must have been in respect to his strength. That made sense. I see. I'm not gonna say be direct like that. Let's just say like a superhero, or you were raised well. You're like a superhero. I hope he likes that. It makes you like a superhero if you think about it, especially to the kids. The head counselor rubs out his palms in thought, chuckling sheepishly to himself in a deep, baritone tone. The corners of his eyes wrinkled, and beneath that hockey mask was indeed a proud smile. Okay, that was the right choice. You think so? I know so. There isn't a single kid here who doesn't recognize the work you put into making their summer an amazing experience. Even the counselors. There's a sudden abrupt movement from him that draws my attention to his hands as he signs. What he said next, immediately I wasn't expecting. Even you? I felt my face go hotter in the distance. I knew by the way his gaze had grown heavier that he had more than seen it. I could tell I was grasping at straws to respond. Yes? Okay. Yes, even me, especially me. Though there was an initial long, drawn-out silence, neither of us seemed to mind. Instead, we take in the moment with our own little smiles and keeping the admission safe to our chests. I cleared my throat, slapping in my cheeks before going to begin to work on the bonfire. Dragging the firewood is a bit of a chore, but Jason is quick to help when needed. It feels like now, anytime I express the need for help, he's right there, making sure the needs are met. It's a wonderful feeling, one that gives me butterflies. I remembered the oil canister being by the shed as Jason had mentioned and moved to gather it up. I fell into a squat, huffing as I drew the oil to my chest, but before I could spin around fully, I heard it again, the same rustling I had heard coming up the trail to meet Jason. I felt my skin crawl, yelping helplessly before pinning around the tree where the noises were coming from. I know there were traps on the outskirts of the camp. Surely a bobcat couldn't have gone so far in. The rustling would come and go, and bravely for whatever reason, absolutely dumb reason, I felt the need to advance closer. I mean, this was how those people in horror movies died, right? I should know better. Still, I wanted to make sure nothing would jeopardize the campsite. It would have destroyed Jason if it had. A few moments of searching yielded nothing, and as I turned to head back, I heard it. An awful, low, garbled noise that sent me flying out of the thicket, taking off with the oil canister held to my chest like it was my only saving grace. When I skid over to the bonfire, it drew the head counselor's attention. "Are you okay? You look pale." I curled over, wheezing, letting the canister drop to the floor in a heavy thud. My hands planted firmly atop of my knees, and I finally found the brain power to sign confidently. "I think there might be a bear." I didn't stop to look, I got too scared. Instinct kicks in for the lumbering man, veins popping over the broad knuckles as he moves across the campsite quickly, dipping into the shed before coming out with a machete in hand. Oh. He wastes no time walking in the direction that I had come from, all but disappearing from my line of sight. Jason. Worry blossoms in my chest, my throat tightens quickly. If it was a bear, was Jason even a match for it? After what felt like an eternity, I found myself shifting in place. I didn't want to wait anymore. I started to dart in that direction, and before I could get too far, I felt powerful hands grabbing my biceps in a sudden grip. I shrieked, but Jason at this point is used to my trippiness. This comes as no surprise to him by now. Still, it doesn't stop him from looking at me in concern. "Jason, oh my god." I'm starting to think we have a pattern here, running into each other. I feel the familiar feeling of warmth across my face, but I steadied myself by breathing slowly instead. His hands in my arms make me feel safe, and calm comes easily because of it. I run a hand across my face nervously and nod with a crooked smile. I couldn't find any tracks or bear, so it might have been a trick of mine. "Did you eat today?" As if on comedic horrible cue, my stomach growls softly between the spaces of silence. "Right, we'll wrap things up here and get some food into you, alright?" I don't know how you put up with me. There's a moment where his hands tense up on me, his grip almost tightening in reassurance. As I look up to meet his eyes, crystal blue, soft, I feel my heart skip a beat. It feels like I've done nothing but get myself into mess after mess since I stepped out of my cabin this afternoon, but he had taken all my fumbling in stride. Even now, he looks at me like I couldn't completely do anything wrong, and most definitely with newfound warmth. "That's what superheroes do, right? I have to take care of you. Let's wrap things up, alright?" I don't feel embarrassed in the way that I smile or find comfort in his words. With a nod of my head, I take the pouring the oil into the bonfire, carefully lighting the blaze with the lighter. I look to the sky, admiring the hues of pinks and blues that came with the sunset. I stole a glance over at the head counselor as I finished up my snack. Looks like everything's done. Oh, that was all creepy. By the time the sun had set, all the kids had taken to their tents, sleeping bags in hand, and got to running around enjoying the activities of the night. I ducked back into the cafeteria to get the menu for the evening, something every child, even adults like myself, would look forward to. Fried chicken drumsticks, 3 cheese mac and cheese, and a side of veggie fries. Oh my god, that sounds really good. For dessert, Jason had opted to vote for apple slices, but there's no moving me when it comes to s'mores. It took some doing, but the night had gone so well, it was like he was willing to go along with whatever I recommended. I shouldn't let this go through my head, but I don't know. I think I like him a lot more than I realized. I paused in my walking, exhaling softly and smiling to myself, clutching the trays before looking out to where Jason had been. A few of the children had gathered around him, watching with anticipation as he showed them the proper ways to sharpen a stick for them to roast their marshmallows on. Even with the full bellies, the moment dessert was mentioned, they were ready for more. It was adorable seeing him mesh so effortlessly with the kids, especially given his age and sometimes brash temperament. Oh, that was so cute. I head over, waiting until most of the kids were settled before breaking their concentration. Drum roll? Little drum roll, guys? I might have to eat these all on my own. Marshmallows, give me. Can I have 2? 3, please? I laughed a bit, feeling small hands tugging at my cargo shorts and pulling me off balance a bit. Once I had gathered the crowd, I found my gaze traveling upwards, and locking eyes with the head counselor he was giving me such a look, so new and intense, I thought my heart would fly out of my throat. I swallowed the tug of hands pulling me back to reality. I'll tell you what, the one who sits the most still and doesn't blink gets 3 marshmallows off the bat. Ready? It took a little effort to corral them all, but once the marshmallows went onto the sticks, the kids all had their chocolate and graham crackers set up. I finally found time to sit down. An explosive, tired little raspberry blew past my lips as I had 5 marshmallows lined up, ready for building when a shadow loomed overhead of me. My gaze looked upward, smirking as the head counselor took a seat beside me, eyeing my stick and its contents. I could sense the judgment. I built the first, placed the 6 between my thighs, and popped it into my mouth to sign him. What? Isn't 5 excessive? Never, it's hardly enough. You can't go camping without s'mores. It's practically illegal, you know. Jason rolled his eyes, building his own s'more and sliding it beneath his mask, patting the crumbs off his shirt. I didn't notice the way his eyes lingered on my marshmallow collective, only on the day's happenings and the kids conversing around the bonfire. He moved closer, scooping up the melting marshmallow and brushing his hands across the top of his knee and thigh. I choked on the s'mores, pounding at my chest before swiveling my head to look at him, locking in another intense look once again, though this time he seemed perfectly aware of the effect his eyes had. It could have burned you, you know. Here. I looked at the paper plate he had offered me, but I was quick to return back to those crystal blue eyes of his. I chewed slower, blinking, before looking away shyly with a chuckle. Once I was rid of the dessert in my mouth, I transferred the marshmallows onto the plate, signing with my free hand. Thank you, it's been a long time since I've enjoyed these. Maybe since the last time I was at camp myself, actually. This is my first time, actually. What? There's no way. If you grew up here, you have to have had a chance once or twice. Do you not just like them? There's a moment of silence the two of us share. I feel my stomach knot because of it. He looks drawn to the bonfire, a move when a few of the kids take to running down the trail. My brows knit tight in concern. Jason? I wasn't exactly popular with the other kids. I was bullied often. It was easier to be by myself than to be around other kids. Sometimes, other counselors, it still feels that way. Stupid, considering I'm a grown man now. Oh well, I apologize. You didn't ask for a sob story. In an instant, I felt my heart sink like a ship. As I watch him now, the nonchalant in his admittance, I felt an urge to rise up inside of me. I could chase it myself, I could tell myself, or I can let him be. Maybe he didn't need to be smothered. I didn't want him to feel like I was pitying him, but what if... I don't want to do anything to get me killed. So, I mean, he wouldn't kill me in front of the kids, but you never know. Let's go closer and rub his back, link your fingers together. Let's link our fingers together. It took a moment or two, but I followed my instinct to move a little closer, linking my pinky finger with his settled against the top of the log. It's a simple, intimate gesture, but one that doesn't provoke a strong response out of him, outside of a jarring flinch to the stimuli of my hand on his. In fact, his attention turned entirely on me, and I feel my hurt for him hit all the stronger. How can someone be so cruel to someone so kind? Kids can be cruel, and you didn't deserve to be treated like that. I'm really sorry, Jason. I hope you never have to feel that way again. If you do, you can talk to me, alright? Though I cannot process the way he felt at words in a way that I knew off the bat, I could tell by the way he leaned closer that he felt comfortable with the notion. His finger felt on my skin, pressing against the mood ring I had kept since my childhood, and I refused to take off, investigating the texture of it before finally setting on lacing his fingers with mine entirely. Thank you. I hope I didn't make you uncomfortable. I don't want you to feel like you have to be so kind and open. I I'm kind to you because I want to, silly. I would have thought you knew as much based off the day alone. I really enjoy spending my time with you. If I could spend all of it with you if given the chance. Another long pause, and a look of disbelief before canting his head to the side curiously. I didn't think the date was special, other than being a date maybe, but those are normal with people you enjoy, isn't it? He said it was what? I felt myself getting lightheaded almost immediately, stammering aloud before smiling wildly, the way one does when they're absolutely nervous as hell. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did anyways. Of course I did. Jason nodded, slipping his hand free from my own and planting both of them on top of his knees. There's a look of relief in his eyes before playing off the nerves of admitting his scheme of isolating me on a date. He doesn't mind that the silence is a bit awkward. He's basking in all the moment, all the same, of our shared enjoyment. I'm glad. I don't think I would have wanted to spend it with anyone else. My hand rolls into the palms quietly as the night had gone on, and all the while my eyes never once left Jason's form. I watched as he took to getting the kids tucked in, assuring them that whatever shadows that they have seen on the trails were their imagination before sending them off to bed, and picking up the toys scattered marshmallow-covered sticks to deposit in the chipper. So it was an actual date. He called the date. You'd think had my hand slapping at my face, groaning when the familiarity of heart raced across my face. I drew my knees to my chest, huffing tiredly as the entire day's activities were picked apart one by one, all circling back to him. Something inside of me felt almost upset that this was a date, considering how deep in I was becoming. Surely a date would end in a kiss, wouldn't it? Oh, the mere thought of it sent my head spinning. I found myself ashamed. Jason wasn't someone that just ran ahead, kissing and sleeping with whoever he wanted. That was for stupid, insensitive dipshits, like Kevin. Ugh, why is this so... Ah, monster! The shriek almost sent me flying on my skin. Standing upright so fast I nearly felt all my weight toppled over the other side of the log. I found stability, funnily enough, in the child who tossed himself into my arms. Tears and snot soaked the pant leg of my khakis, and before I can get a word out, the child gripped in fear at my shirt, pulling me down in a frenzy. Come quick, I saw it. It's by the lake. He almost ate my face off. You gotta slow down, okay? Take a deep breath for me, okay? It took watching me to do it, but I fell into a crouch and calmly held the kid in place, breathing in deep for him to follow. He nodded in a pout and tried to stabilize his breathing. We repeated the process for a moment, and finally, after a couple of minutes, he was able to speak coherently past his hiccuping nerves. Dawn and Mabel dared me to throw a rock at it in the woods. I didn't think there was a monster, but I heard it. It even took all of our sleeping bags. Oh, that's weird. But why aren't your sleeping bags in your tent, Marcus? We wanted to wake up the flying fish, so we were going to sleep by the river. I nodded at the young boy. He might have not flown with Jason had he told him, but I could understand if anything. I rose to my feet and scooped the young boy into my arms carefully, turning to the woods with a big, heavy sigh. Jason was still gathering up the other children at the entrance of the campsite, so I had to handle this on my own for now. Determination took over, and with a firm nod, I looked up at the boy, and sniffling and rubbing his snot across his pajama sleeves. Alright, Marcus, you're gonna have to be brave for me, buddy. Can you tell me exactly where you and the other girls saw the big monster? You have to get your sleeping bags back, okay? But what if... Hey, I won't let anything happen to you. If you get scared, you can run as fast as you can. I'll keep the monster distracted. I'm a camp counselor, so you know what that means. The boy shook his head, wearing his puppy dog eyes proudly. I smiled at him, wiping his tears with a curl of my finger to his cheek. I'm practically a superhero. Like Mr. Voorhees? Just like him. But he's a lot cooler, and he has more muscles than you. I found myself with a flake with a raspberry, pursing my lips indignantly. Kids really were cruel little assholes when they wanted to be. I thought to myself. I smiled regardless, shaking my head a little bit at the small boy. Maybe, but I'm a lot faster. So are you with me, Marcus? The young boy gave a nod, and I returned it with one of my own. With the child in my arms, we both began to head down the path, looking side to side through the tenebrous dark, the pines forming a sea of trees that felt as if they had gone on for miles and miles. I felt a shudder run down my spine at the idea of actually finding something lurking around in the woods, especially after all the stuff I had heard today too. Jason had said he never found anything, but I found myself in disbelief even then. There was too much noise, too much rustling and displacement in the woods for there to have been nothing. We had been on the trail for some time, and after 15 minutes, give or take, we had heard it. At the same time, the sounds of something heavily breathing, snapping branches underfoot with the weight of his steps. On a knee jerk, I slapped a hand over the mouth of the young boy who was ready to scream, and threw us both behind the safe of a tree, sliding against it and falling into a crouch. I felt my throat lock up, sweating despite the cold of the late evening, feeling my heart hammering away in my chest. Okay, when I say run, you need to run, okay, Marcus? Don't look back or stop. The boy nodded frantically, tears sprinkling his eyes again as the sound of heavy footsteps came closer and closer. The more I listened to it, the more I realized I recognized what creature it was. There wasn't a camper alive who didn't recognize the heavy growling of a grizzly. Oh. And while they had every right to be in the forest, it didn't make the fear of being attacked any better. They were still territorial, and they were camping in their backyard after all. My hand passed the ground, pulling for anything that could be of use of distraction. Finally, I found perches against a heavy rock, swallowing around the lump in my throat before peering around the trunk of the tree we both hid behind. At the sight of the lumbering mass of shadow, I was quick to pitch the rock in the opposite direction of the camp, watching as the animal flinched and let out a ferocious roar in the night air. Color left my face, my body if I had a mirror proper to see it, I imagined, but fortunately it took off running in the direction of the noise, and it gave me enough time to push the boy in the direction of the campsite. Go! Marcus wasted no time, nodding and whimpering as he ducked in and out of the tree line, disappearing into the night towards the safety of camp. My legs felt like jello, and I rolled my head back, exhaling shakily as I opened my eyes and took in the shifting expanse of the leaves the tree company provided. Okay, we got two choices here. Towards the sleeping bags. Man, we're gonna get ourselves killed. There's a bear. It's a whole bear. I forgot what type of bears that you can run from. I feel like there's a type of bear you can run from. Let's be stupid and go get the sleeping bags. I should be gone by now. I know I saw those sleeping bags across the way. If I could see what the tracks look like, I could definitely confirm if it's a bear or not. I stepped carefully from around the tree, standing still for what felt like an eternity before the forest fell back to an eerie quiet and faint hum of the cicadas I was so familiar with. The animal had gone a lot further than I anticipated to, but judging by my own careful, quiet steps, it likely thought I had gone. Good, I thought. I began to crash forward, quickly moving across the other side of the trail and tucking myself behind another tree trunk. A few more moments of absolute stillness, and then I started to creep forward towards the sleeping bags. I don't even know what these kids were thinking, trying to sleep out here on their own, even without a massive scary thing running around. Yeesh. There was plenty of destruction to be seen, that much was certain, claw marks and evidence of gnawing in any surfaces worth its salt, and what was left of the sleeping bags was scattered across the forest floor. I scooped the remains of what looked like Marcus's stuff, dragging it into my hands and frowned, letting out a saddened sigh. Poor guy didn't survive rows of teeth. I'm not surprised. I think Fern knows how to sew, though. I'll have to get this fixed up for him. If I hadn't been so on edge, I might have not noticed the sound of movement off in the distance. I slapped my head in his direction, staring hard until the sound of footsteps grew closer and closer, feeling my fight or flight to kick in. My eyes darted around, suddenly on a heavy sticker bomb hydro flask left by one of the kids, and pulling it into my grasp before starting to shuffle back into the bushes, stringing myself the best I could. I watched, ignoring the sting of sharp thorns pricking my thighs and forearms, and waited for what was lurking in the shadows to come. I saw someone kill somebody with one of these things in a horror movie once. I'm not going out without a fight. Whatever a pep talk I felt the need to give myself, had this been a horror movie, surely it would have spelled my very own certain doom. While I was hyping myself up to jump out what was coming, it had more than found its way behind me, breaking a few branches as it passed the threshold of the train line and entered the area I'd been hiding in. I remember swinging upward and spinning on my heel and swinging openly with the hydro flask out before starting to plummet backwards onto my ass. This person is always falling. With a heavy thud, I hissed and blindly closed my eyes closed, let out a poor attempt at a battle cry. I taste like crap, back the hell up. My arm grew heavier and heavier, swinging at the air, waiting for it to connect wait, why weren't any of my swings connecting? I cracked my eyes open, blinking away shocked when above me didn't stand a 9-foot bear, but an almost 7-foot man, none other than... Jason? How did you find me? The head counselor looked down at me, grabbing my wrist gently and pulling me to my feet before looking out at the dirt trail behind us. It was squinting to see what he had followed was my footprints. I patted my feet and my hand against my face in embarrassment, but all he did was chuckle lowly and start pulling debris free from my hair and clothes. At least if it was a bunch of concerned crying kids, I might have felt a little more important. I sent out the mauled stuffed animal, brushing Jason's knuckles as I left in his hand. I peered out, looking to see if the animal had crept up on the two of us while we had spoke, but let out a sigh of relief to see only the same bush and dark forest that I had seen earlier. I was to start walking, but before I could, I felt myself pulled into the embrace of the head counselor, and my face heating up for possibly the 100th time that day. Jason? He held the hug for a little while longer, allowing me to snake my arms around his warm, too, in a comforting squeeze. I smiled to myself, pulling away and watching his hands wrapped. When Marcus got back, I thought the worst. I was worried about you. I smiled more, and while it might have confused him, I couldn't help it. He was worried about me. My heart skipped a beat. I wanted to make sure the kids would be safe. I'm not sure if that means that, but at least I have peace of mind that those three aren't some animal's late-night snack. Speaking of, I could really use another s'more. You? The counselor rolled his eyes, placing a hand at the small of my back. What does the small of my back mean? Oh, whatever. And guiding us out of the trail where we'd head back to camp. It was better to make sure the kids didn't spread any wild rumors based off of a mountain lion or a harmless bear cub. Oh well, more for me then. Okay, this is the end of the sloth release. Okay, so it's gonna take a long time to earn our trust with all of them, basically. Because if you try to be too hasty, maybe if you're just too hasty, they'll just kill you right off the bat because they don't like that. That's what I seem to see. I really wish we got Michael Myers. I mean, just look at him. I think this game was pretty funny overall, but I really enjoyed playing it, and it was fun to read. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Bye!